everybody, this is Dr. Nimrod. You want to just, is what you say, tighten your seatbelt. We're about to take you on a ride, from agriculture to agro-industry. Dr. Nimrod, and give me a moment to pull up his bio. I have it here on the platform. Please go onto the platform as well for the full bio. But Dr. Nimrod is the founder and CEO of Biofield and Green Valley. He obtained his PhD from the Hebrew University in Israel, where he studied agriculture and specialized in ecological entomology. That's a mouthful. He grew up as a fruit grower, farmer in kibbutz in Israel. Did I say that? Can you teach me, how do you say kibbutz?
Kibbutz, exactly. You said it right.
Okay. There he realized a need to create a new approach to agriculture, neither conventional nor organic, but rather based on the solid foundation of values of business viability, social responsibility, greater awareness of health, and environmental sustainability. After 13 years in the academy, in 2004, Dr. Israeli founded Biofield, a company with the mission to provide 21st century crop protection technology and solutions to propel his vision of spray-free agriculture. So I encourage you, please go to the Nazaro.trade platform to read his full bio. But without much ado, Dr. Nimrod, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to share some thoughts, and I'm only entrepreneur. So if it is provocative and if you don't like it, it's okay, you can throw. Now it's going to be harder, but throw your dots at me, and it's okay if you do not understand or agree, and it sounds stupid. I will start by saying that Africa can be and should be the food barn of the world. Instead, today, it is importing most of its or much of its produce and food. And this is while over 50% of the production of the people are dealing with agriculture, and livelihood depends heavily on agriculture. So when you say Africa, you say agriculture. And this is the problem, because agriculture is a revolution of 12,000 years ago, while the industrial revolution happened 200 years ago. And advanced economies are deep into agro-industry. And this is what Africa needs to do, to move from agriculture, which is meant from the very beginning for survival, to supply the family, instead of hunters, gatherers. It came the agriculture. So now it's time to move. And the question is how and what are the problems? And yes, I know there are endless number of problems. So I'm going to try in this one to focus on 3 key success factors. And I will start with the first one, that most of the people in Africa are farmers, and 36% are poverty, which means their income is less than $1.9 a day, which is ridiculous. And just imagine how many below $3 a day, or $4, and who can survive with 3 or 4? So this is a huge problem. And the way to solve it is not through charity or loans. No, it is through real business, to put money through real business, sustainable, in the pocket of the farmer. And here from Ghana, after we doubled his income in 1 year, he says, yeah, make a lot of money. And this is what he wants, and this is what they want. And this is sustainable. This is moving from agriculture to agro-industry. Now, this is one story, the story of Africa. And the second story that I want to share with you is where I was born, in Israel, in a kibbutz, which is a community based on agriculture. Less now, when I was born, it was 100% based on agriculture. And I was born only 17 years after my kibbutz was founded, only 17 years, meaning within less than 20 years, it moved from what you can see here, a rocky hill with nothing, no trees, no fields, no money, no electricity, no water, to prosperous agriculture, prosperous community based on agriculture. By the way, on the left side, it is my mother. And one other thing that is very surprising is when we think of the same people just a few years earlier, many of them in my kibbutz were Holocaust survivors. They were in concentration camps. My mother escaped across Europe from Hungary. She lost her family, her parents. She was raised in a village, so there was no more farm, no house. And she somehow managed to get to Israel with no money in her pockets and without knowing the language, no family and no friends. So this is the starting point. And therefore, when I see Africa, I say everything is possible. Everything is possible. When I think why it is sometimes looking so hard, I see differences. And when we speak on Africa, we speak in the attitude and the terminology of fighting hunger and poverty. Both are very bad. And let's say that we don't have poverty because everybody is having $2 a day. Is that good? On the other hand, in my kibbutz, and very common in Israel, from the very beginning, it was always looking for prosperity. It was making people's dream come true. And I want to share with you one dream, which is my dream. And this is why I'm here today. And this is why we can and should help farmers, people, whoever they are, to fulfill. And you are also very welcome to join my dream. So I was a farmer, you can see in the same kibbutz, very successful. And some of my orchards were organic, some are conventional. And at a certain point, I was thinking, wait, both of them I spray, some conventional, some organic. But what if we don't spray? We don't spray. And because of this, we can sell the produce for a higher price. Wouldn't it be nice? And it all started from the point of view of a farmer thinking how to sell his produce. The problem was that there was no way of not spraying the produce. And so started a long journey that took me through many years in academy and then developing myself with my team in biofeed, the technology, which is a breaking through, and then other things that I will share here with you. And everything came as a result of understanding problems. So this is very recent survey saying, look, 67% of the people want without sprays. When I started my journey, no one was talking about this. We are talking about 94. And 81% are ready to pay more. Some of them even double. So the first is prosperity. Let's put it as a goal, not eliminating the darkness. Let's make light. And we do it by aiming to enable any farmer to fulfill his dream. And the way to do it is by creating prosperity, because we do not know what their dreams are. They don't know. First, we make business. Now, the second thing is about science, agro-science. And we ask ourselves, how come that the US and Europe has very, very good technology and know-how? while in Africa, even Asia, India, it's not so. And the answer is very simple. Just like now we are talking about Africa, we care about Africa, so they are. Those companies, first of all, care about their own people, and their closest market is next to them. The problem is that the crops in Africa are different. The pests are different. The climate is different. And therefore, the technology and the know-how should be different, but we don't have it yet. You will see later that maybe we do. This is a problem. In Europe and America, fruit flies are not a problem. So it is in Israel. But in Africa, between 50 to 80% of the produce of fruits, mangoes, which is the #1 fruit crop across Africa, is infested by fruit flies that has no solution. No solution. The same is Asia. And furthermore, not only that, those miserable farmers are losing so much fruits, you can see on the left side, the female laying eggs, and you cannot see it. When you look at the fruit, you cannot see it. And so if you want to export the fruit, just a week or two after, you see the larva, and that is a biosecurity issue, because it is a quarantine pest. Nobody wants it. And so most of Africa is under export ban. They cannot export to the best markets in the world. But even inside Africa, it's very difficult. They have to harvest the mangoes and other fruits as well very early. And when I say mangoes or fruit flies, it is a symbol. It is a model for everything else. And it is the #1 fruit crop. That affects the income of the farmers. On the left side, we see the profit of the African farmer that often is negative. And this is why they live in poverty. They grow mangoes and they lose. They grow and they lose. While the Israeli farmer that is growing the same mangoes is making a very nice income. Do you see the business opportunity here for investors, for farmers, for nations? This is a multi-billion opportunity. This is exactly how we can move Africa from importing to exporting. And Africa, which is just next to Europe, hardly export any mangoes to Europe, although Europeans do want it, while Latin America is exporting most of it. So this is the gap that we can and we should, and no one will invest as long as we don't have, for example, the right technology. So yes, we do need technology and know-how to be competitive in quality, first of all, and then of course come also the quantity. Okay? Now, next thing that we ask is, how come that African agriculture lagging behind the West? And this is in light of investments. So many, tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars invested into African agriculture in different investment models. The problem is when you go and you meet the farmers, when you visit the villages, what you see is failures. And this is why poverty prevails and it's all over. It is a catastrophe. And it is maybe time to stop and to ask, is it really time to do more of the same, or should we do something different? I want to suggest something different, very radical, and to take us now to see a different business model. And that is one that Korea used. And Korea in the 20th centuries, in the 40s and the 50s, was a very, very poor country, like many of the African countries. And they had a good, big steel industry, but not much of added value generated. And so they thought, what can we do? In the mid-60s, they said, you know what? And together with the industry, they approached technological companies, investors in the premium markets. For example, the United States, Europe, Japan, and said, look, we are a very, very cheap place for you, low cost place for you to produce. Now let's make an agreement. You give us your technology and know-how for no charge because we cannot pay for it. We will produce whatever you want, okay? And in return, you will get, for example, cars or engines and other things. And you will get it for a good price, good for you, so you can sell it later in your own premium markets for a nice profit. This way you can also finance your technology, your know-how, protocols, whatever. And of course, you can generate income to us. So this way, of course, so many technologies and know-how transferred to Korea, and look at Korea today. By the way, the same protocol, the same model also generated the huge superpower China. They did not have the technology and the know-how like 40 years ago. But you know, today it is different. So this is a game changer model. And just note the investor on the right side that yes, the government step in and the private sector, they need to be in. Now, how is it today in Africa? In fact, in Africa today, you have the premium markets, just like we saw before. You have the production line, which is the field or the orchard. And of course, you have the local market. By the way, I didn't mention, but also Korea and China, everybody's got their own local markets. But anyone who tried to do it only with its own local market failed. So how it works? Now, the same good companies, let's say irrigation, they come to the farmer and they say, look, we have technology, we have know-how, but you need to pay, of course. And the farmers, okay, you need to pay. And the farmer is saying to himself, okay, I know that it is good technology and know-how, but let's see, I'm still losing 50 to 80% of my produce. I have low yield, I cannot export, I need to sell most or all of my produce to the local market, which generate pennies instead of dollars. And so how can I do it? How can I bridge this difference? Do you see the problem of the farmer? He has no way ever to bridge that gap, even if we give him funds, loans from the banks, and so on. And this is why it is not changing. Doesn't matter, the World Bank, NGOs, whoever. This is a gap that has no solution today. Another problem is for the companies and the investors in the premium markets, because today getting dollars, euros out of Africa is not easy. It's very expensive, sometimes impossible. So this is a model that simply, as we know, doesn't work. And the results that we see of the huge poverty is exactly the reflection of this model. So business model that is made to energize continuous growth, we simply don't have it. So we're talking about attitude of prosperity, science, to build our own technology and know-how and framework of a new business model. This is what we need to move from agriculture to agro-industry. So how do we do it? How do we move from theory to real-world practice? This is the big question. And I will share with you now what my team and myself are doing. First of all, Green Valley is all about this transition from agriculture to agro-industry. And the first thing that we do is we said we focus on export. And we want to export the best possible. We start with the crop that is the largest, has today a potential just in Europe of hundreds of millions a year. And from different reasons, including chemical residues, biosecurity, low taste, quality, it is not being exported. So we say this is our model, which is not only a model, it's a great business. And what we don't want those mangoes to be harvested too early, green, because nobody likes it. And we know it from our survey. Also, too late, when it is infested, it's not good because then we have biosecurity issues. So we need it to be harvested late enough, very tasty, but no biosecurity issues and no chemical residues. And this is exactly what we are doing. By the way, labeled with Green Valley. So the first thing that we say about prosperity is also part of our vision. And we start with the farmer. The farmer should have improved livelihood. And there is no limits to improve livelihood, unlike poverty that is very limited, anything about $1.9 a day. The second thing, after we said about this is the attitude, now we're talking about technology and science. And when I founded BioFeed, I said, okay, we know today we have sprays, all kinds of sprays, and they are poisonous because of this hard to export. Effectiveness, not so good as we just saw it. And by the way, Africa suffers from mosquitoes that also, none of the technologies is really effective, endless other pests. When we think of traps, even less effective and also not good for export because of biosecurity and so on. And when we think of genetic modified insects or crops, nobody likes it, or many people, especially in Europe. So it's also a problem and it's not effective. So what we really wanted is something new, something that doesn't exist, highly effective, no chemical residues, no infestation, easy to export, easy to implement. And yes, Israel, we used it as our laboratory. And now for 21 years, Israeli farmers are using this technology without sprays. I will show you. And no chemical residues, and they export. And then, because we are talking about different insects, just a few years ago, we won a competition to develop for India, which suffer heavily from fruit flies and losing, just like Africa, between 50 to 80% of its mangoes. And mango is the #1 fruit crop also in India. We're talking about 9 million tons a year. And this is what we did. We developed for India a solution that is called Freedom. This is a technology to go together with protocol. And it was so successfully implemented that in 1 year, it reduced infestation from 80% to less than 1%, which is the standard for export. No sprays, no infestation, just like it is in Israel. Just a month after, because it was so successful, I was invited to meet the Prime Minister of India and the Prime Minister of Israel in Tel Aviv in the first time they were meeting. A few months after, I met them again in India. And here I present, this is just in a few words, it is based on attracting to smell. It's all about smells, but it is a novel breaking through technology like nothing else. Okay, so now the model, the business model, we are back, just one second, yeah. We are back to the business model because we do have a solution to the technology and the know-how. So the third thing that we had to deal with is model. Again, we see here the Korean model, let's call it this way. And now let's see how we design the new model that is disruptive. First of all, we need to control the value chain. If we cannot control the quality of the value chain, we cannot promise the consumer in Europe, in America, in Japan, in China, the quality that you will get. So first of all, this is one thing. And more than this, now we're saying, yes, part of it is we saying this is made in Africa. This is tastier. And this is no sprays. It will say the name of the country in Africa. And more than this, later, which is hopefully next year, people who will buy this mango can also see through a QR exactly where it was produced, the name of the village, and maybe even the name and the faces of the farmers. So this is how far we are going with it. We want to connect the consumers back to the roots, back to the farmers. It's all about this. It's not about us. Now, the business model that is generated from this is disruptive for the agro-industry. And what we are saying is it's based on premium markets. We need to bring technology, know-how, protocol to the farmer free of charge. Free of charge. And look, on the right side, you see there are investors, which can be any one of you, and I invite you. Those investors are private investors, also governmental, also global. Everybody should take part in this endeavor. So what I show you for free, we practically do it now. We practically do it, and this is how it works. We give it to the farmers, not to the investors. In return, we do not ask for money because we know it is too expensive, and if we would, they simply wouldn't be able to pay. We're talking about thousands of euros per hectare. It is impossible for them to pay. If their income today is between few hundreds and sometimes just a little bit more than 1,000. So we ask for the mangoes, and that is possible. And then, as I showed before, in the value chain, we harvest the mangoes, we pack it, we ship it to premium markets where we have agreements with importers, and we sell it for premium price. Now, hopefully, we have, just like in the cars before, a big enough gap between the cost and the price that we can generate and finance it exactly the way it is in other industries. And the same thing is not only for fruit flies, of course. You can do it with anything you have in mind. In the case of fruit flies and mangoes, it is because this is a go, no go. No investor in the world that got any sense in his mind will invest in a factory that is losing between 50 to 80% of his income. And in practice, because they cannot export, in practice, we are talking about between 90 to 99%. If you remember before, I showed you 50,000 euros Israelis and Africans practically losing, we are talking about 99%. This is the real world. This is not fake numbers. So business model, now we see the gap. And this gap is a multi-billion dollars, euros gap, starting with mangoes, and the sky is the limit, maybe not even the sky. This is a good gap. It's good for the farmer because he has a way to grow. Israeli farmers do not have much to grow in their income today. They will have to struggle. But Africans, if we use this model, they can double and triple, and we did it. We did it. We helped African farmers in the past years to double and triple in 1 year the income. And again, today, based on this novel model, very, very new, they don't need to pay. They pay nothing. They only get money. They only need, through agreements, to agree that this fruit belongs to Green Valley. Very simple. Okay, and we need partners. So Green Valley is about winner's attitude. It's about breakthrough science for Africa, for African farmers and the agro-industry, and a disruptive business model. This is a vehicle to transfer Africa's economy from agriculture to agro-industry, that no matter what we do, this is the way it will go. No one can avoid it if you want prosperity. And if this resonance in your dreams, in your passion, in what you want to do for hundreds of millions of people, you're very welcome to join me, to join Green Valley team, and take part in this wonderful journey. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much.